Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And of course, Rich Vinci is going to be with us here in just a minute talking about consultants in the workplace. He always has some fantastic topics to talk about what goes on in the consulting business, which is a third of our workforce. I wanted to bring up a lesson that came up last week that we really wanted to reinforce for the folks that are doing hiring out there. So you hiring authorities, please pay attention to a real in the trenches story that gives us a lot of lessons. The CTO of one of our clients had a big project that he had to gear up for. It was a project that he designed to revamp the whole IT department in his company. And he really needed to find a senior project manager for it. And we explained to him when he first called that he was probably paying a little lower than what the job really ought to bring. But he said no, he had talked to everybody in the C-suite about the project, and his reputation was on the line. And he needed to hire the very best he could because this project was going to, in between the lines, implied make or break his career. Well, he was so careful about looking for who he needed to find that he kept interviewing candidates and not finding the right one, and interviewing candidates and not finding he even raised his salary about 10 grand to see if he could do better. And he wasn't doing very well. He got through about 10 candidates over a 6-week period of time, and he was still at a loss. Now, he had backed himself into a corner and had gotten himself so confused about what was going on out there and with the number of candidates that he was beginning to look, well, as he put it, a little foolish to the people in his organization, the other C-suite type people. The mistake he made was every time he would come across a candidate that he thought might be good, he would broadcast to everybody in the C-suite the kind of candidate that he was looking for or looking at. But what was happening was he was interviewing these people and he wasn't getting anybody hired because nobody was good enough. His reputation is now on the line, and every candidate that he came up with that he didn't hire, it made him look more and more difficult. Well, we finally got into the 8th week, and he came down to a candidate that he just plain felt like he couldn't live without. Candidate was making 20 grand more than what he really wanted to pay. And so he anxiously went to his higher ups and got the 20 grand more. And didn't necessarily discuss it with the candidate, but we'd explained to him that the candidate was looking for 20 grand more than what he wanted to pay. And he was probably going to have to come up with that in order for the candidate to even consider it. Well, he comes back and says, yeah, he got the 20 grand. He had to push to do it, but he really wanted to hire the candidate. And so he wanted to make the candidate an offer just as fast as he could. And he sent the candidate's resume around to all of the people in his company, explaining that this was the candidate he was going to hire. That was going to cost him more than he really wanted to pay, but he'd been in the fishbowl. People had been watching him and wondering what he was doing and how he was doing this. And he felt like that it rightfully, probably so, that they were wondering if he really knew what he was doing. Well, comes time to make the candidate an offer. And of course, the salary is what the candidate thought he would need. But the candidate got the analyzing his benefits and started comparing the benefits of where he was to the company he was going to. Well, we had told the employer that it would be a good idea to discuss the benefits before you start making offers, because it turns out that the benefits at this particular company that the candidate was working at were paid for. His family and everybody was paid for in the benefits, and that was not true with our client. Well, now the candidate is balking about the opportunity, doesn't really think he could do it because it's going to cost him, according to him, $20,000 more for benefits that he is not going to get at the new job, even though he's going to get a raise. Well, and that's where we're at. We don't know where this thing is going to go. The point is that never put yourself out on a limb about who you're going to hire until you have them hired. Be realistic about who you're looking for when you go to interview. Please listen to us. Our average recruiter has been doing this for 16 years. We pretty much have a good idea of what we're doing and what the market bears. Please don't back yourself into a corner. He's now in a situation where it's not going to go well. It's not likely this candidate is going to do this, and we're going to have to wind up starting all over. Just don't count your chickens until they're hatched, until somebody is in the chair working at the job. A wise man, my dad used to say, learns by mistakes. A wiser person learns by others' mistakes. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.